Hey guys, today is Tuesday, April 21st. Um, Yesterday I had my birthday. I've been feeling very encouraged by a lot of you who've just been texting me. A whole bunch of people from work that I was really surprised to hear from, and definitely encouraged. A lot of people from church and a lot of just friends. So thank you for all the encouragement and gifts, and people coming to my house and holding up signs and singing "Happy Birthday" from uh, from me on the other side of the window, staying away from them, sort of. But that was definitely an encouragement. Got to go on a little drive up into the mountains for a little bit, so that I think that was needed. Again, I've been pretty much cooped up in this house, getting a little bored and crazy. But anyway, so I had a lot of people asking me how my leukemia, how they sort of how did I get notified of that I had it? What was the thing? So and I think I thought I maybe put it in one of my videos, but apparently not. So but basically, I remember it was in end of March. I forget, all the days seem to be piling in together. But I remember Monday after work. I knew I've been having problems with my liver, and the doctor's been checking my blood every 3 to 6 months. So it was about that time to go in and have my blood checked, so they can monitor how my liver is doing. But I also had these bruises on my legs and my ankles. And I said, well, I need to go see my primary person instead of my liver doctor, and say, hey, what's going on with this? Can you just help me figure out what's going on? And they, because they're on a shared platform with UC Health, they said, well, we see that you're scheduled to go and get give blood. Why don't you go ahead and do that first, and then we'll finish our appointment and see what's really going on. So my primary said just go ahead and get that blood in. So I went into the lab, got the blood in. Then probably within an hour, I got a call from my liver doctor and saying your blood seems a little odd. You have really low platelets. I think my platelet count in my blood should be, I want to say it's anywhere from 150 to 400 is the normal range, and I was at 10. And it's technically 10,000, but it's basically from that number is 10. So it's like that's sort of concerning. So they said, well, we really can't do much for you. Why don't you go into ER and have them see what they can do with that? And it's like, okay, that's a little crazy, but I get all right. I'll have to go into ER and have them check me out. So I go home and get my wife and tell her what's going on, and then she drives me to the ER at UC Health here in Fort Collins. So they get me in there, and they do some they look at the blood work, and it's like, all right, I don't know what they're doing, but let's stick you into this bag of saline, and just make sure you're not dehydrated. So they get me on there. Yeah, and some of that stuff is a blur. It's been so long ago, I don't completely remember everything. But I was so I went to the ER, and they looked at it, and it's like, all right, well, we can't do much. We need to admit you into the hospital. So that Monday night, I stayed overnight at the hospital, and they did a battery of other tests. They did a biopsy on my bone marrow, which sounds a little more aggressive than it probably really was. Um, so they did that. They ran some scans, a whole bunch of different things. So, but basically, I've been stuck there for a while and getting saline and getting. I think they added platelets my IV, and they poked me with so many needles at that time. I had more bruises coming out of my arms because I just wasn't healing. Had some bleeding with that. So after probably about 4 days or so being in the hospital, running all these different tests, finally talked to the hematologist, I guess, the blood doctor, and she's the oncologist person, and she started talking about different things, and it's like, all right, but it's all related to things with cancer. And it's like that was a huge flag, obviously, going on there. It's like I don't completely understand what it is, but they said, well, why don't we're going to have you go down to Anschutz Hospital in Aurora, because they have a lot more specialists that deals with the oncologist part of it. So I got to ride in an ambulance. It just that's how their transportation was. So hopped in there. I got to see my wife and kids before that, because everything was locked down. I could only see my family through FaceTime and through the windows and stuff. So on the trip to Anschutz, hopped in the ambulance, and my wife was right there, and I don't think they were supposed to, but they allowed me to hug my kids and my wife in the ambulance, and then they shut the doors, and we cruised down there, and then we spent another 4 or 5 days down there, and then they ran more batteries of tests, and then they finally figured out I have leukemia. It's a plasma cell leukemia, which is a pretty rare form of leukemia. They said there's only 200 cases this past year of it. Bender, be quiet. And so they don't have a lot of data on it. So basically that's sort of how that whole process happened. And I think some of the other videos sort of go into more detail that I've done about it. But essentially that's how we figured things out. We went to the ER, and it was about the bruising that wasn't healing, and the low numbers. And then since then they've been monitoring my red blood cells, my white blood cells, and my platelets are the numbers that they look at the most. My white blood cells are probably the one of the big concerns, because that keeps me fighting off all these other potential diseases and so forth. But finally, we're weeks past all that, and my white blood cells have come up on their own. So I'm doing pretty good. So we're at the end of the recovery stage of my chemo, and so next, or really towards the end of this week, we're going to start phase 2, which is targeted therapy. So they're going to basically give me shots. They're going to give me pills. They're going to give me some infusion of all these new drugs, basically, is what it is, that will continue to work on, killing cells and regenerating things. The doctors definitely have their encouragement with this process is probably the biggest thing that they're having the most hope in with this. But with the chemo together, they feel like they really can knock this out. And then the last part, which is going to be at the beginning of June, we're going to do some stem cell replacements, and that's going to be hopefully the final process. So that should be where we're at on that. So that's sort of a recap, and help to understand maybe how this whole thing started. So hopefully that answers some questions, but still feeling strong and faithful, and that I can get through this. I don't have a tendency to spend time Googling things or watching TV and trying to be so focused on this whole coronavirus. I'm trying to focus on the things I need to do with me. Bender, quiet. But thank you so much again for all the encouragement you guys are always giving me. So that's all I got for today, and then maybe I want to share maybe the next video about some of the spiritual warfare that I'm sort of enduring. So hopefully that's ready to come. All right, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.